radar. Hurricane coverage on my radar.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining me late tonight. It's about 11:55 p.m. and I appreciate you hanging with me. I tried to get the stream going, make sure I've got the audio going, and I think we're good. So everybody let me know if you don't hear me clearly. I did want to get on YouTube tonight. We have been working on the back end trying to get everything turnkey ready for the weekend and for Monday for Dorian's arrival. So we didn't do as much live on Facebook or YouTube today, but we should have everything good to go, and we'll have more live coverage starting tomorrow. We had some folks asking about that. So let me get you updated on a couple of things. There is new information from the Hurricane Center, and we have seen a strengthening in Dorian, and we've also seen an uptick in the projected landfall intensity. So I'm going to show you all that. This picture I have here is a live camera out of Bimini in the Bahamas. Of course, Dorian making its approach to the northwestern Bahamas first before it approaches the U.S. mainland. And then I have another picture. Of course, it's midnight, so it's dark out. But you can see this is live from South Beach, Florida, and clouds off in the distance. And again, a beautiful evening there. They've had a light breeze in that area of Florida. Of course, nowhere in the state of Florida, there's a lightning storm we just saw off in the distance, but nowhere in the state of Florida getting any direct impacts from Dorian. That will not happen until much later in the forecast. But, there is going to be so much going on in these coming days, and we've really seen things change with the National Hurricane Center and in terms of their intensity and the fluctuations in the path. But now we're starting to see everything kind of line up and get more. Hey, Tom, thanks for telling me the audio is great. So I appreciate that because I'm here running this by myself, so I don't always know if everything's clear. But it's kind of cool to watch that lightning while I talk about this. But so we've really seen things line up in these last couple of days, and the situation has continued to get more serious for the state of Florida. The winds now potentially on a high-end Category 4 at landfall, and that is really, really a scary scenario for Florida by Monday, it looks like, and then potentially stalling. That's the other new thing from the National Hurricane Center, potentially stalling and creating a huge flooding nightmare for the state of Florida. So I'm going to get into all of that, but before I do that, I wanted to show you this. So our meteorologist, Mike Linden, went over to Brevard County, one of the areas that's under the gun for potential direct impacts from Dorian, and what that means for that area of Central Florida. They flood very easily. That area of the country Florida has not had a major hurricane ever come in through Brevard County. They've seen a few major hurricanes to the north and south, but a lot of folks there are nervous and are prepping. And again, Mike Linden went over there today, talked to some folks and how to get ready. And here is his story. I hope you guys find this useful.
In anticipation of a potential landfall from Hurricane Dorian, the beaches of Cocoa Beach are relatively quiet. You can't say the same for the surrounding communities, though.
There you go.
Labor Day weekend is normally a busy weekend for communities along State Route A1A. But Labor Day weekend this year is likely to be busy for a different reason.
We want to make sure folks are ready. We want to be prepared. That's always the number one thing.
According to National Hurricane Center meteorologists, Hurricane Dorian is expected to make landfall somewhere along the eastern coast of Florida, a rarity for the Sunshine State.
Frequently. In Brevard County, we've never had a major hurricane make landfall here. Matthew came this close, maybe 5-10 miles from making some sort of devastating impact in Brevard, but it skirted the coast.
As for Dorian, people in Brevard County are preparing nonetheless.
Yeah, yesterday and then today have been very busy. We're going to stay open as long as we can to the very last minute until we're kicked out, try and support the community here.
The most popular items at the hardware store?
Coolers, duct tape, tarps and Visqueen, stuff like that, just to protect things.
Just down the road, gas stations have begun to see big crowds as people prepare for Dorian.
People are filling up for generators, their cars, extra fuel. We're ready for the storm, and God willing, it turns the other way and goes back out to sea. That's what we hope.
We have got you covered right here on the My Radar app for all things Dorian. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms as well, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, as well as on YouTube for the latest information. From Cocoa Beach, I'm meteorologist Mike Linden.
All right, so that was meteorologist Mike Linden filing that report earlier today, doing a great job getting some sound from people that are on the streets trying to get ready, folks that work in stores. And as I mentioned, everywhere from the Florida Keys all the way up to Jacksonville and over to the Florida Panhandle, getting ready for what Dorian could potentially unleash for the third year in the row. It looks like Florida will get a major hurricane, landfalling major hurricane this weekend. So let me show you some of the info and some of that stuff I was talking about. So we've now got a nice clear look here at the satellite and radar imagery from Dorian, which all day has not intensified all that much until tonight. We've seen this burst of energy and this burst of convection that's up to the wind field to a category 2. There's Florida off in the distance, of course, and with the storms that you see there and the rain and the lightning that we saw on that live camera from South Beach is not from Dorian. It's just good old-fashioned thunderstorms in Central Florida and South Florida. But of course, impacts from Dorian will be felt in the state as soon as Saturday. So it's coming up quick. Today was a great day for folks to get ready. I know a lot of folks were in the stores, myself included. We're trying to get ready. We're here in Orlando, by the way, so or at least this office is. We have one in Portland, Oregon as well. But a lot of supplies are already gone. The state of Florida is under a state of emergency, so we are seeing and hearing that we'll get more supplies, more gasoline, more water, more food shipped into this state to help people get ready. I've seen on social media some people haven't even started getting ready that live here, but hopefully that will change soon, because this is such a serious situation and not one that we see often. So there's a couple of things here that I wanted to point out about Dorian. So this earlier in the day, let me zoom this out for a second. Earlier in the day, we saw some dry air coming in from the south and kind of wrapping around. But what we're seeing now is a nice dense overcast right here and some really, really deep thunderstorm activity right there in that core, in that center of circulation where that eye is forming. So as Dorian continues to become a more mature hurricane, we're going to see all of this wraparound flow, this right here, come and line up around and become more concentric or more circular and kind of flow into the center of circulation. We've also had some outflow. You can see it here, these little banding features. Looks like feathers. You can see some up here too. That's kind of like an exhaust of an engine, shows really good outflow of the thunderstorms, these really high cloud tops that are 60, 70,000 feet in the atmosphere. Some of the blow off that's coming off the circulation creates that fanning effect. Another indication of a strengthening storm, and the fact that it's got nothing to get in its way. So all the ingredients are there for this to get nothing but stronger, and the Hurricane Center believes it. They doubled down tonight and have ramped up the winds even more, and expecting to get right on that threshold of a category 4, a strong category 4, you guys, which is serious, intense business. So what we're looking at here is the recon flight data. As you guys know, the hurricane aircraft fly inside tropical systems regularly. The closer they get to land, the more often the flights are. This particular flight that I have here was from actually, I think it's about 2.5 hours ago. So at the time I was putting this show together, they were just going back in on the north side. So the sustained winds on this particular pass were 72 miles an hour, but notice that they came in from the south. That's the weaker side of the hurricane. The one I was trying to get that's probably in there now was when they were coming in from the north. I wanted to see what the winds were doing on the north side. But we've seen an uptick in the winds officially with 105 sustained winds. And then, of course, the concern being that this will continue to strengthen tonight through the overnight and tomorrow. And likely we're going to have a major hurricane tomorrow. All the signal and the data is there. We're already seeing it. We're seeing banding features in the thunderstorms. They're well-organized system. So I'm anticipating this to be, of course, a major hurricane, and so is everybody else tomorrow. So here's a look at the info. Again, if you plot these things, some people like to do it old school and actually get tracking maps out. We used to use those before we had apps. So the coordinates are 23.3 north, 68.4 west, sustained winds 105 miles an hour, the movement northwest at about 12, and the pressure 977, which again, we're going to continue to see that go down as we get in time here. So National Hurricane Center calling for 120 mile per hour winds by tomorrow night. Saturday, dangerous category 4 winds sustained into 140 mile per hour sustained winds on Sunday. And remember, you guys, intensity forecast is the weakest link in all of the forecast models that the National Hurricane, they admit it. It is well known that the technology and the science is just not there to pinpoint how strong this hurricane can get. So a lot of people have been asking me, could this get to a Category 5? Yes, it could. Hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully it'll be going under an eye wall regeneration when it gets closer to the U.S. That will make it weaker. Hopefully, the system will run into some type of wind shear, but there's nothing that points to that. So that's why we've got to get everybody on board and get ready and not panic. I see a lot of people on social media that are saying that they just can't seem to get any forward momentum. They're kind of already in a hurricane haze and it's not even here. So this is the time now, well, not right now because it's midnight, but tomorrow when it's daylight, to get out there and get that plan in place. Get your hurricane kit out of storage. Get your pets taken care of. Get your livestock taken care of. People that have large contingencies have to make extra plans. I have friends that have horses here and they're asking me what they should do. And I'm like, you need to get your horses out of here. So, there's all of those plans that you've got that take time, getting medicine for the elderly, getting prescriptions filled, going to the bank and getting cash in case power is out for long periods of time. All of that takes time and it takes money, I know, and it creates anxiety for people, but it's real and it's something that we got to face. And I want folks to, take this time between now and Saturday, late Saturday and Sunday to start getting things in order. So here's a close-up look at that impact. Again, probably if you had to put a line on it, and I say don't look at this line, the closest area that we would be concerned with is the Martin County, Indian River County, Palm Beach County area tonight. Now we could see the shift. The Hurricane Center has shifted the path a little bit to the north and to the south throughout the day today, but still look at that entire cone of uncertainty. That whole cone you see here still encapsulates, including the Keys, by the way, through Jacksonville and even parts of Georgia. So that's why I keep telling everybody, don't look at this red line. I almost wish we wouldn't put these on here, but of course that would create more confusion. But it's the entire state of Florida still in play. However, models are starting to become more in line with what the Hurricane Center believes is going to happen. And so a lot of this is timing, a lot of this is the steering currents, and it's all going to be about the turn. Don't expect a turn from Dorian tomorrow. Don't expect a turn from Dorian until sometime late Saturday. So it will look like it's generally heading towards the southern part of the state, and then it's expected to take that sharp turn, and that's when we'll really get a lock in for where it's headed. So here's a look at the estimated winds. Again, many parts of the state will start to feel hurricane gusts in some spots and tropical storm gusts in other spots. A lot of people have been asking me, am I going to get Category 4 winds in Orlando or Tampa or Marion County? No. You all, and myself included, we're 70 miles away from the coast. The coast, by far and away, has the biggest risk for the winds and the storm surge and the inundation or the flooding. So that's where the highest risk is there. As we get further away from the center of circulation, the winds decrease. However, if this hurricane goes up the state like it's forecast to do, there's going to be a lot of people impacted by this thing. That does not mean that there's going to be Category 4 winds in the interior part of Central Florida. It just doesn't work that way. These systems rapidly decrease once they get cut off from their life source, which is the ocean. But they will have winds, so we are going to be talking about Category 1, Category 2, in some cases maybe Category 3 in the coastal areas of central inland South Florida, in South Central Florida, if this path holds. So as of tonight at midnight, there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to be getting those Cat 2, Cat 1s in gusts, not sustained winds. The winds of 140 miles an hour or more are going to be in that 10-mile diameter, that 10-mile radius. So there are some similarities between this and Andrew. I was in South Florida. I was a kid, but I was in not a kid, but I was in school, and Dear and Andrew. So this has some similarities to an Andrew and to a Hurricane Michael. I'm not saying they're the same scope, but Andrew was a small, compact storm. It had a small wind field. It was catastrophic damage where it came in at. But then areas north of there, Broward and Palm Beach counties, didn't get hardly anything. So that's what you've got to remember when we're talking about these small hurricanes. This isn't a Hurricane Floyd. This isn't, a large hurricane. Even Irma encapsulated the whole state. And there was, and Charlie was another one that was a big hurricane. So large in size, I mean, I'm not talking winds. So you've got to remember that too, that when you're trying to prepare and maybe ease some of your anxiety, that, okay, we're talking about a small area, a very significant area that will reach significant damage, but that doesn't mean that the entire state's going to have sustained winds as Category 2, Category 3, Category 4. It just doesn't work that way. The laws of physics don't work that way. So I want you to remember that. I want you to remember that if it does go up the state as forecast, that is going to impact more people, more power outages, more tree damage. The building codes in Florida are some of the best in the country. That was the other thing I wanted to remind you of. So before Andrew, the building codes were not as good as they are now. So a lot of people also concerned about, will homes be blown away? There will be damage, of course, with a Category 4. But remember, the building codes went up after Andrew. And so a lot of the state has required Category 3 or higher building codes for their homes. Not all of them are to code, but most of Florida is. So that's a good thing. But again, there's still going to be many parts of Florida that have weak root systems. Trees will be falling on power lines. That creates power outages. In the scenario that we're talking about today, there will be an area that will be talking about some significant wind damage, but also the rain. I'm going to get to that in just a second. So there's the whole state, again, pretty much under some type of tropical storm force wind or minimal hurricane wind inland. The coastal area where this comes in at is going to be the critical point for the worst wind, the worst storm surge, and the worst freshwater flooding. Okay, so I ran this model. I want to, we haven't been talking about, we talked an awful lot about wind. Wind makes the headlines. How strong will it be? Is it going to be Category 4, Category 5? People forget the other big key factor here is the number one killer of a landfalling hurricane is freshwater flooding. It's not the wind. So look at these numbers as I toggle these on, that this is starting tomorrow and goes into Wednesday of next week. The latest info from the Hurricane Center tonight is that Dorian could slow down once it makes landfall and slowly move up the state and be a huge rainmaker. Look at those numbers: 14 inches in Vero Beach, 4 inches in Miami, 3 inches in Naples, 10 inches here in Orlando. And that's just one particular model run. And as we get closer in time here, we'll start to see a lot of those numbers change. So there's a big opportunity for a lot of widespread flooding as Dorian comes in. So keep that in mind too. All right, a look at our models here, the GFS versus the Euro. If you're on Twitter a lot, you probably have seen the big debate, who do you believe, the Euro or GFS? Well, they're both benchmarks. They're both very reliable computer models. They both do very well in guidance for tropical cyclones. The Euro tends to be a little bit more of a reliable in terms of long-term players. They both, though, have it coming in south central Florida and moving up the state. So again, that would be more of a scenario that would impact more people, and there would be a larger area of power outages, flooding, that type of thing. Again, remembering that wind field is going to be isolated to a small core. Another look at the same, it's the same models, the GFS and the Euro. I just added the rain, the green on it, so you can see that as well. Same thing, they're both closely lined up and then they split. The GFS is a little more aggressive, the Euro is a little slower, but both of them make a landfall in south central Florida now, which was not the case. So there's increasing confidence in that we're talking about potentially a south central landfall. But I want you to remember that whole cone is still under Florida. No one's out of the safe zone, not even Georgia, and potentially even the Carolinas. That's less of a threat for you guys. But then there's also the second strike. What happens with Dorian once it crosses the state? Does it go into the Gulf? Does it go into the Gulf of Mexico? Does it go up into the Gulf Coast states? Those are all answers that we don't have, or questions we don't have answers to yet, but will be important next week for sure. Okay, I've been rambling on an awful lot here. Let me see if I can find a couple of quick questions that you guys have. And if not, okay, North Port, Florida. So I'm not sure where that is. If that's, I know where most cities are in Florida, but I can't think where that is. But if you can tell me where that is, I'll tell you. But I can tell, Sarasota County, that I do know. So Sarasota County on this current path, as of 12/14 tonight, would not have as much of an impact as, of course, eastern Florida is going to have, because it's expected to come in on the east side and not the west side. And it's expected to move north. So come in and move north and not cross the state and go into the Gulf. as of today. That could change, but on this current path, you would be on the southwest side of the hurricane, less impact, lower winds. Tropical storm force gusts are certainly expected or would be possible, but you got to remember it's going to be closer to late Saturday, Sunday before I can really answer that question, because really once we get a lock on it with the ground-based radar and we can see really where it's coming in at, I'll have a better idea. But for now, that's what I'll go with, just based merely on experience in tracking these things. Okay, someone's asking about Homestead. Same answer for you guys, except you're on the southeast side of the state, of course. You would have some more impacts, obviously, because it's an east coast landfall. So anywhere in South Florida is going to get more of an impact. But again, the winds are going to be small, and a small sector, potentially catastrophic, extreme damage where it comes in, and then exponentially less impact on either side, on the north side of the storm or the south side. But I'm not minimizing it, because I know that this is going to stay as a category 1 for at least 24 hours, or at least 12 to 24 hours. I mean, I don't know how long, but generally that's how long they last. And if it stays that way, or a strong tropical storm, that's going to bring in some damage. So south, if you're south of the actual eye, you should fare a little better, but it's still a little bit too early to say. Okay, let's see. Vero Beach, that's another one. Someone asked me that on Facebook. I'm very worried about Vero. I am very worried about Palm Beach County, Martin County, St. Lucie, Indian River, because those are the kind of the counties that are in the lock zone of where this could go. Can't answer what county it's going to be in yet. No one can tell you that. If someone's telling you it's coming in Palm Beach, they're lying to you, because no one knows. Or whatever county, whatever county it is. So, but just based on guidance and based on consistency in the models, that is the biggest risk in that quadrant of Palm Beach, Martin, St. Lucie, and Indian River as we speak. So you definitely need to be doing all your preps there, getting your supplies. The state of Florida is recommending supplies for 7 days. So hopefully you've got that plan in place. And the other thing is, if it does come in that area, there's going to be no power for days, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. I think with Irma, there was parts of the state that were without power for a week in the Keys. We were without power with Charlie for 5 days in Orlando. So again, you got to remember, do I have enough gas in the car? Do I have cash? A lot of restaurants will open up pretty quickly. Food trucks will be out, I'm sure, but they'll be cash only because there won't be electricity. So do you have enough cash? Do you have enough supplies for your pet? Do you have, is your mom and dad taken care of? Is your Aunt Louise ready to, is she ready? All those things, you've got to, that's why we try and tell you, don't wait until Saturday. Don't wait till this weekend when you're not working. You got to find the time. You got to either get up early tomorrow or stay, work late tomorrow night. And you should already be getting the preps in place, because we're not going to see a wide swing here. Someone else was asking me, could this miss the state altogether? It would be exceedingly rare for that to happen. There's no escape route for Dorian, so to speak, to just leave. The steering currents are pretty entrenched. The ridge of high pressure that I was talking about, that's expected to turn Dorian back towards the U.S., is a big known player. It's the Bermuda High. It stays there seasonally for months at a time. So the opportunity for Dorian to escape some type of steering flow is just not like, you never say never, but meteorologically it would be almost impossible for there to be an escape route. It looks like it's going to be somewhere along the East Coast. We still can't hone in if that's the South Florida, South Central Florida, Northern Florida scenario. As of today, the trend has definitely been a South Central Florida landfall. So we'll see. Okay, let me see if I'll look real quick if there's anywhere else that you guys are asking me about. Georgia, again, I kind of said keep your guard up for them. Texas has been asking. Oh, hey, I don't know if you're asking if you guys should worry. If you are asking about that, we'll know a lot more next week. Of course, what happens, where it goes. Does it go into the Eastern Gulf? Does it cross the Gulf and go to the Gulf Coast, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama? All that's just too early to say right now. So everybody, this is the time of the year when we get hurricanes, we've got to watch. And unfortunately, we've got a major hurricane on its way, it appears, to Florida yet again for the third year in a row. Okay, I don't see any more. But if I miss somebody, then you had a question about your city, I'll make sure and I answer it. Okay, so that'll do it, you guys, for now. Thanks for joining on our YouTube Live. I know a lot of folks will come back and watch this later tonight or tomorrow. We'll have another update. Let's see, my fast forecast will launch tomorrow morning around 4 a.m. and that will have a new info on it. And then we'll do some more YouTube lives tomorrow. We're going to do Facebook lives tomorrow. We're going to do app streaming starting Sunday, I think, depending on how the timing of Dorian. So look for that when you launch the app. You can see our live stream in there. I'll be doing it. We also will have Aaron Jack is here. He flew into Orlando yesterday. And we'll have our storm chaser. I'm super excited to have him here. We also will have John Zarella, formerly of CNN, is going to be in Brevard County, potentially doing some coverage for us as well. So we've also got Mike Linden will be here with me, helping to keep you guys up to date. So really to have all the resources in place to try and keep you guys up to date as much as possible. Make sure that if you haven't subscribed, you probably have if you're watching me, but if you haven't subscribed to our channel, click on the bell so you can make sure you get notified when we drop new video. Okay, I think I've hit it all. I hope you guys have a great night, and I hope that you guys continue to get ready and stay calm and stay focused, and let's all try and get through this together.